Hi there, and welcome to another edition of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast, the independent Rangers podcast, which is brought to you by fans for fans, and where the content is absolutely free. It is another bonus show for you tonight, guys. We're having a wee look at the Hibs game tomorrow night at Easter Road, so we're going to preview that and have a wee discussion about some of the other things that have happened this week. As I say to you every time I host the pod, guys, it's not just the pod that we have. We've got forums, articles, social media, podcasts. There's a history archive on the website. Get yourself on it. It's all free and independent content made by us for you guys. If you've never listened to us before, or this is your first time, we would ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got over 4,000 subscribers now, so thanks to everyone who's joined us so far and who's stayed with us. The pod is live tonight. It's the Tuesday night. I get lost with the days at the moment. Every day is like Groundhog Day. So we're live tonight, but the pod will be available to stream or download on a variety of platforms from tomorrow, including Acast, iTunes, YouTube, Castbox, Stitcher, Spotify, all the usual places, Guy, as per normal. So now to bring in my esteemed guest, it is a show of high standards and high hairlines tonight. I've got Alex Anderson with me. How are you, Alex?
I am very well, Colin. Thank you, sir. Yes, high hairline, loyal. I remember a boy saying that to me the last time I was in a proper hairdresser's. The last time I could justify that about 20 years ago, and he said, you've just got a high hairline. And I held on to that until I got down the road and said to my dad, he tells me I've got a high hairline. He's like, aye, that'll be all right, mate. You're going to be like, these balls are cute at 24. He knew what was coming, so.
It's the last few years I've noticed that it's, I remember the first time with my barber, it stopped using the thinning scissors, the thinning scissors that they use at the end. And I sort of said to him, you don't use the thinning scissors anymore. And he just sort of, the eyebrows came up as if, you don't need them anymore. And I knew then. I knew then, I thought, okay. And I don't get tugs in my hair anymore. The brush just goes right through, no problem. So, aye. But hey, as well as a high hairline, we have high standards, two guys who kind of know what they're talking about. So, we change, aye. Alex, I thought we'd look at a couple of things before we talk about the game tomorrow night, a big game tomorrow night. I mean, I know Rangers are in a fairly comfortable position in the Championship, but you kind of get the feeling that this is I've always been looking at February as that's when we would be making the final push if we maintained that points gap. So it feels like, in terms of not giving Celtic any hope whatsoever, tomorrow's quite a big night. But I thought we'd have a couple of things to talk about before that. The first thing was, Rangers announced, I think it was yesterday, or towards the end of last week, that there's a new Rangers TV site and app and all the rest of it, and it all looks great and all that kind of thing. And it's a sort of reminder as well of how we watch football now. You know what I mean? Because we're not getting to the games, and I don't know about you. I mean, I'm not being critical here. It is what it is. But Rangers TV stresses me out because I airplay it from my phone to my telly, and I don't think it's got anything to do with the app. I think it's just the connection between my phone and the telly. Like on Saturday there, it wouldn't connect, and I was having all sorts of issues, and then eventually I managed to get in. And I'm a middle-aged guy, and I don't like technical things like, gadgets. So when I saw this, I must have thought, could I not have left this to the end of the season whenever it was all done and dusted? The thought of getting in and re-registering and doing all this, as we're approaching, the final push for a title, I must admit my heart sank a wee bit.
I'm just getting used to sending email. That's the kind of technical level I'm at. It's been a bit of a culture shock for guys of my age. This whole kind of thing of watching it online. If you're not just picking up the remote control and popping on the telly channel, it's all a bit complicated. I found myself a few times this season just getting too used to the thinking of it as you're going to watch it on the telly when it's actually Rangers TV, and you think, coverage starts at 2:30. That's fine. Getting up, I usually watch it on the laptop because I'm not even going to attempt to cast it. And cast it to me is just like that's a foreign language. I'm not going to try in like that. I'd be scared it would drop somewhere in the living room. It'd be in the flare somewhere, and I couldn't find it. This casting, but no. And I'll get upstairs onto the laptop, and I'll suddenly remember that I've forgot my password or whatever it is. I would like to pay tribute to a guy, but I don't want to name him because maybe just get all sorts of, kind of clueless guys like me following him on Twitter. But I think it was the Dundee United game, we won 4-0 back in August, and I completely lost it. I could not get the thing up at all. And I'd actually had a good Rangers man. It turned out he actually works for Rangers TV.
Right.
And he just saw me on Twitter losing it. I can't get this. And he just private messaged me and he said, right, Alec, just log on to this, blah, blah, blah. You've probably got too many screens open, which I did. He obviously knows how to deal with the various age groups. And I just suddenly remembered that I'd actually fell out with him about something. As he's tweeting as a Rangers fan, so I had to do some serious crawling up, sooking up to him after that. He bailed me out. So I tried to. I've actually got I've got my password and all that, written down on a Word document. That's how pathetic I am, just in case I forget it. So having to do this, or having to log into something else now is going to take me a good week. But
I'm dreading it. Because we've got the St Johnstone games next Wednesday, so that gives me a week. That's not enough for a guy my age. I need longer than that.
It'll take me at least 5 days to remember that I've got to do it. So
See, I'm in an even worse position because it's all on my phone. You know what I mean? So when it asks for my password, I just need to put my thumb on the identifier, and it just automatically fills it. So I don't even know. I can't even remember what my password is. So I'm going to have to do a bit of digging to find out where it's all kept on my phone. But I must admit, my heart just sank a wee bit. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure it's for the better, and I'm sure it'll be a better service. But come on, Rangers, you could have left it to the end of the season. You know what I mean? So that's my wee grump over. There's been some sort of signing news this week. Alex, Scott Wright, who we both agreed before we came on air that none of us know really anything about the boy. And it was announced again yesterday, I think it was, that Nathan Patterson had extended his current deal or signed a new deal. So I thought we would look at them. I mean, in terms of Scott Wright, most people who I think have a sort of knowledge of players like that seem to think that we've got a good player. I mean, Steven Gerrard himself seems to be quite chuffed. It actually looked like they were hoping to get the deal done now in January rather than waiting for him to come. And I think he mentioned in his press conference today that could be a possibility, but that ball's an Aberdeen score, whether they want that to happen or not. But I suppose, it's another attacking option, I think. Is an attacker, I think.
Forward. That's what it says on Wikipedia, and that's about as far as, which is really strange, that I don't, because I could tell you about Cosgrove, I could tell you about the boy Hedges that was sent off against us at Pittodrie. It's quite strange that I don't really know that much about him. A lot of that's down to my own kind of bitterness post 2012, where I just couldn't bring myself to watch any kind of top flight Scottish football other than when Rangers get back into the top flight. Kind of willful ignorance, if you like. But I think we're at the stage now where just Ross Wilson and Steven Gerrard wanting to sign a player is a kind of recommendation in itself. I think that lets us know that he must be of a certain quality. Not just talent wise, but as a character, character wise. I think that's a big thing with Gerrard. So he must be somebody that we should be signing. Obviously he's been brought up in the Aberdeen kind of youth system, the looks of things. He's been Aberdeen all his career, farmed out to Dundee at some point. But I think a guy of his age, in the week that we're getting Nathan Patterson, who's 19, kind of extending his contract up until his early 20s, I think we're actually, Scott Wright seems to be the other end of that. Whereas Rangers, as Frankie, the boss, was saying in Sunday's pod, have been a bit of a basket case, of kind of 2012 up until 2015, we started kind of getting myself sorted out infrastructurally. And I think it's quite good that everything we might not like about Aberdeen, you can't argue with the fact that they have been steady. They've always hit a certain level. They've always been steady under McInnes. So he'll have been raised properly. He'll have had a good schooling football-wise, and we're getting him just as he should be coming to kind of fruition as a young player, a young man. So without really knowing anything about the boy, I'm just assuming that if Gerrard and Ross Wilson are interested in him, he must be a good prospect.
Yeah, there is we kind of touched on this slightly a wee bit on Sunday night show. We sort of highlighted that there is an increased confidence around the recruitment of late. There's not the same sort of failure rate, early on, there was a feeling it was a wee bit hit and miss with Gerrard in the early stages. He was signing a few and then having to move some of them on. But I mean, there's the added bonus of this signing that it gets it right up the sheep. You know what I mean? They are absolutely raging.
Well, if you think we've been talking about, it's maybe better that we don't have the fans at Ibrox. Well, Scott Wright will be delighted that there's no fans at Pittodrie for the rest of the season. And I see Ryan Jack sent a nice wee welcoming tweet the other day as well. So anything that annoys them is all right by me. But I think we were talking actually before the Aberdeen game, we were talking the preview pod about what Gerrard had done in signing on Kai Kennedy and kind of taming Kai Kennedy and his kind of want away spell that he had after the L-Class tournament. And I think it's another one of the ones, it lets you know that we're doing everything that you expect of a kind of solid, stable football club now. We're taking in kind of talent from Scotland. If you look, Glenn Kamara coming, he might not be Scottish himself, Glenn, but he's coming from Dundee. We're taking in Scott right now. We've got youth players coming through. I saw the boy, is it Ben Williamson, the boy? I was flicking through the channels on Friday night. BBC Scotland, Arbroath are playing Dundee, and I just flick it on in time to hear that the boy on loan for Rangers is man of the match, And then, David Venn was talking about it on Sunday. Kai Kennedy was, man of the match, turning on a dazzling performance for Wraith Rovers at Hearts. And then you're looking at, even if you go up to the most kind of high profile signing issue or a sale issue to do with players coming and going, Alfredo Morelos, this season, last season, the season before, Stevie G has done an amazing job with him as well. The most high profile kind of issue we've had in terms of transfers, judging how much he wants to get in for Alfie, when he wants to sell him, and then taming him, getting him to the point where he realises that he's the best place from his Rangers and playing well for Rangers, stopping Alfie taking a half, etc. So we're managing signings now like a kind of mature, settled club, and I think that's Scott Wright just plays right into that, and it's nice to see.
And it's another cheap signing, it's another one that we're either going to get him for nothing or there'll be a nominal fee if it's agreed in January. So it does seem that it's fitting into this sort of bring them in young, cheap, and then if they develop the way we hope they're going to develop, we sell them on later, at a big profit kind of a thing. On Nathan Patterson, before we move on to Nathan Patterson, I think I should highlight that there's a really good piece by Jordan Campbell in Athletic about the Kai Kennedy situation, and there's a good clip of him on YouTube. I think he's scoring against Queen of the South, and it's a really, really good goal. But the piece itself is certainly worth reading. On Nathan Patterson, came on at the weekend. I thought he played really, really well, and Tav's 29 now. It's a good sign, and I quite liked what Gerrard said today that he's basically saying to the players in the academy, if you work hard, if you've got the ability and you work hard, the opportunities are there. I will give you the opportunity to get in this team, because that's the journey that Gerrard took himself. So I think he can relate to what these players want to do, and I think he can also identify the ones that don't just have the talent but have the right mentality and the right attitude to have a good crack at making it. But I think it's encouraging. Again, it comes down to this, we're bringing in, rather than going out and signing a new right back, we've identified this boy and thought, you know what, he could actually be a replacement for Tav when he eventually moves on. Bring him in just now. He's training with Tav. He's learning the good habits. He's learning what you need to be a Rangers player. And it's not just about the ability, it's about the mentality and how you look after yourself. So again, it's another good sign that it feels like it's part of a holistic route that the club are taking. And they're identifying, right, okay, we're not just going to let Tav, get to a point where he's not the same player anymore, and then we go, oh, right, you know what, we need to go out and sign a right back. It feels like there's succession planning already in place, and they've identified Patterson as this guy actually could be the next right back for Rangers, which is encouraging to see.
It has to be maybe the hardest job in Scottish football right now has been understudy to James Tavernier, because his consistency is absolutely ridiculous. Alongside Connor Goldson, who's kind of, is playing with all various centre halves, but I think he's only missed 4-6 games or something in Gerrard's 150 competitive games in charge of Rangers, Connor Goldson. So after that, I think Tavernier would probably be the guy who's played most games for Rangers and is most kind of central to the way the club, the way this team plays. Not just we've talked about the fact he's no maybe your kind of shouting, fiery captain, but we're not a shouting, fiery team. We're quite a cerebral team. We're quite a kind of where intensity comes over play. And James Tavernier, I think, such credit to him for the way he was regarded by a lot of fans, especially when it kind of 2016, 2017, under Mark Warburton's spell in the top flight, all started kind of going wrong. And Tav was taking a lot of flack for that. But the way he's developed and became the captain, actually, a lot of people wouldn't have thought, for a second, when Mark Warburton was at Rangers, that James Tavernier was going to be the kind of heartbeat, if you like, of the team that was hopefully going to take us back to the title. So for Nathan Patterson to have to hang about, for any right back to come to the club and be thinking that they're going to get in place of James Tavernier, it's a really hard shift, So I think it's a balancing act. You're going to have somebody who doesn't mind waiting, but at the same time has the ability. I don't know yet. I don't know if he does. I mean, he's only. I mean, he was smashing obviously when he came on in Saturday. I think Nathan had maybe one wee misplaced pass, which was just chewed up straight away by Goldson or whoever. It was Ross County by that point. I think we were 4-0 up when he came on for the last kind of 20. And Ross County had been kind of tenderised by that point. They were just, they weren't going to be a great threat. I think he started against Lech Poznan, the away game where we're already through. Still a vital game for the club, and he did well that time. But Lech Poznan were playing a lot of reserve players that night. Before that, I think we're talking about Stranraer in the cup last season. Is the only other time I really remember him playing. There'll be other games he's been involved in. He's coming on as a sub or whatever. But I don't know if Tav was to get injured. God forbid. I don't know if Nathan Patterson is going to be able to keep up. I don't think any player could do what Tav does for us this season. But as you're never going to have a chance at getting in the team while Tav's there, you're as well having a young boy who doesn't mind waiting in the wings.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even like say the Europa League game that you mentioned there, even although, as you say, we'd already qualified and wasn't a meaningless game because we still had to secure top spot, but we'd secured, qualification. So the main business is done, but it's still given him just a wee taste of what that's all about, European games, playing football at that level. So yeah, I think it's all good. Before we move on to the Hibs game, Alex, I've got to do my contractual obligations on our partnership with Rangers Picks, which is the official Rangers Pick'em game. So it's a totally free Pick'em game with £1,000 prize pool. The more fans that play it, the more money the club receives. So if you can do it, please do. To play, all you need to do is go to www.rangerspicks.com. There'll be a series of questions. It used to be 12. I think it's up to 13 now about the Rangers game. These things are here for every Rangers game. So you just answer the questions. It's stuff like how many corners will we get, all that kind of thing. And it gives you hints, it gives you wee clues. So if you go through that, you've got a chance of winning a share of £1,000. You must be over 18 to play. Terms and conditions apply. And as always, guys, please remember to play responsibly. And I should let you know that you can actually win it because Frankie, I think he got third place a couple of weeks ago there. And still no bottles around though, you know what I mean? And it's not just because the pubs aren't opening now. Anyway, on to tomorrow night, Alex. Easter Road. I mean, it is a kind of, I think Hibs have kind of became another Aberdeen in a way that they think they've got a rivalry with us, you know what I mean? I don't go to the Rangers Hibs games at Ibrox thinking, oh, this is one of our big rivals, but the games at Easter Road always seem to have a wee bit of extra sting about them. They're not in the best position at the moment, obviously, you know, they've had a couple of bad results recently, but it still feels like they'll be up for it tomorrow. So, I mean, how are you feeling? Are you nervous, confident?
I feel kind of cup finalish about this one, Colin. I have to admit, I think we're at that point where we win tomorrow night. I'm no But none of us are ever going to say. I think we're the only supporters. I think we're the Rangers supporters, the only football people in the world right now that are refusing to admit Rangers are champions. Because we just have been through so much, and obviously just basic superstition as well. You know, you're never going to say it, you've won it until you've won it. But a funny thing happened to me on Sunday. I think it was having a Sunday without a game. We had just absolutely romped it. We watched the team doing everything, every week, and a complaint that we'd managed to cobble together about Rangers over that amazing period, December to 2nd January, where they won 10 games in a month, and they won all but one of them. You know, the only kind of the game at Motherwell, where we started slow for 20 minutes, and as soon as we lost the goal, we absolutely pounded them for 70 minutes. The only kind of complaint we'd managed to put together was maybe we were a bit slow at the blocks, and Rangers shoved that right down our throats in the most beautiful possible way on Saturday. And I think if we had been in that League Cup semi-final that we were supposed to be on the Sunday, we wouldn't have had the chance to go 23 points clear the way we did. You know, we can argue about whether that'd be preferable or not to have played in that League Cup game, but on Sunday, I was just sitting there. I think it was the fact that we've had so many Sundays where we've been watching Sky, you know, had to get out your kip. For me, too early of a Sunday morning. You want to have a nice relaxing Saturday night. And it's been so long since just actually chilled out on a Saturday night because the job's been done. You can enjoy your weekend, a lovely sunny day. And I thought, you know what this is? I can actually feel, I don't have any worries now. The only worry is, as I said before, is COVID. You know, that might, you know, affect the league. It might affect us in some sort of way. That might ruin our season or ruin the season in general. But in a football sense, I feel as if we're almost there. And I think if we win tomorrow night, if we were to lose tomorrow night, I think it would be the first. I think it's, as you said, it's the last time we would have any doubts about us winning the title. But I think if we were to come through this game tomorrow, even a draw, depending on the circumstances, I think if we lost a game in the league after this, we would suddenly realise as a support the only thing that was bothering us was the fact that our unbeaten record had gone. I think if we come out this tomorrow night, it's done. I think that's it. We've proved December onwards that we've got the ammunition to cope with everything psychologically, you know, technically on the fields, you know, fitness wise, we're way above everybody else. We come through a few tests in December, and even in January itself, it proved all these psychological barriers that we've had. Oh, we fail in January, or we can't go in a winning run or whatever. We can't churn out wins. We can't come from behind at the Motherwell game at Ibrox. We just blew them all away. And it's almost like we had that wee kind of drop of points against Motherwell just to let us know, there's always, you know, you've got to keep the concentration. You can't get too cocky. And then the way we answered that on Saturday, I feel as if tomorrow night is the last test. And I think a lot of it is dependent on whether we make it about us tomorrow night, because it shouldn't be about Hibs. It shouldn't be about how Hibs are bouncing back from Saturday's debacle, which also helped make my weekend. Let's know many quibbles about it. Hibs are my Aberdeen now. I have no time for them at all, for a lot of various reasons. Some that are personal, family related reasons, you know. But I really. I used to like Hibs as a club. I used to kind of. I would almost go as far as to say, no, I know that I have other favourites in Scotland, but I used to really kind of admire Hibs. I used to think they were quite a glamorous team. You know, they're all getting to the semi-finals of European Cup, the first European Cup in the mid '50s and what have you. But my God, that went out the window the day of the cup final in 2016. But was it the
only thing that went out the window that day?
Exactly. But no, I think it's a massive game. I think it's a real. It's one of the two grounds that we've not won at in the league this season, Livingston being the other. To have achieved that in the first two rounds of games is absolutely stunning, you know. But I think tomorrow night is the last chance for anybody to put any kind of doubt in our mind that we're going to win the title, you know. So I hope we just go out there and just make it about us and know about what's happening with Jack Ross.
And I mean, I would agree. I think I've still got a wee nagging doubt. I'm not quite prepared to say that it's done, and I'm looking. The reason I'm doing that is because, you know, when I look down south on the 19th of December, Liverpool went to Crystal Palace and they pumped them 7-0 or 7-1 or whatever. They went 5 points clear, and everyone was like, "Well, that's them. They've clicked." and that's them going to push on now, because I think the sort of the leadership of the Premiership was chopping and changing, and that put a wee bit of distance between them and others. And, you know, in the space of a month, you know, they're now 6 points behind and looking like they're struggling to, you know, find form and keep up with pace. So even although I think we're sort of 3/4 of the way there, I'm not quite at the stage that you're at. But that's why I think tomorrow is such an important game. You know, it feels like we're still in January, and this is where we traditionally, you know, have a wobble. And I think if Hibs were to get a win tomorrow, it would just plant that wee, you know, seed of doubt amongst a few minds. And the best way to deal with that is, as you say, to just make it all about us. And Gerrard hasn't got a great record there. I think it's 1 and 4. So it would just be it's a great opportunity to just go out and make a statement. You know what I mean? I think the Aberdeen game at Pittodrie was the first sign that we were kind of getting back to that fluent sort of team that we looked at the start of the season.
Yeah.
I think we saw a wee bit of that at Motherwell as well, and it all came together on Saturday there. You know what I mean? I mean, as you say, it was a fairly relaxed Saturday night, and I've not felt like that for a while. You know what I mean? Even when we've had our games on the Saturday and we've won, there's been a wee bit of, you know, that was a bit nervy. But on Saturday there, job done within a half hour, and we could just relax and try and increase the goal difference. So yeah, I think Rangers are improving. We're getting back to looking how we were at the start of the season. I don't like Hibs like you. I don't like the boy Porteous. I don't like a lot of how Hibs have handled themselves over certain things over the last few years, especially, you know, relating to ourselves. So to me, it just seems to me like a great opportunity to make a big statement, to say, you know what, he's only going to catch us. No one's going to get near us. And I wouldn't call it if we win tomorrow, but I would feel that we would have one hand on it. If you know what I mean, that's, and we're in that. I mean, if Celtic continue their current form and we continue winning, you know, I was doing the sums today. I think it's nine games we need to win. You know, and if Celtic keep dropping points, that comes down and down and down. So tomorrow feels like an opportunity just to make that big statement and the sort of starting point for this final push. If you know what I mean, it's within touching distance. Let's make a statement here and then just totally go for it. So yeah, that's how I'm hoping things go tomorrow night.
I think it feels like the home straight is just is just over the hill, and that hill is, well, Easter Road used to be a slope, the pitch, and it's just that they are the hill, they're the obstacle. And don't get me wrong, mate, I would never say that we've won it. And if you look at my Twitter feed during any game, I'm just crying out for help all the time. I'm absolutely pathetic, you know. And until we're 3-0 up, I am just like, what are you doing here, Rangers? You know, well, we're actually going a 15-game winning run, Alec. You know, but it's like, no, I'm not happy. I'm not happy until it's done and dusted. I basically want Rangers to be 3-0 up before they take the park. So, don't get me wrong. I worry like anything, but I couldn't. That's what I talked about on Sunday. I couldn't fight the feeling. It's just an actual feeling. I wasn't worried, and I think it would be that's why I'm saying it's like a cup final. I'm not trying to say anything's in the bag, but tomorrow night I think is the last chance for anybody to kind of put any kind of doubts in their mind. It depends. It does depend a bit on Hibs, but it shouldn't, because when we're 29 points in front of them. I think they've played maybe one game less. They've not got 3 games in hand over us. We are basically 30 points better than Hibs. You know, the only thing that gets me is the other side of the whole Hibs kind of continual underachievement. You know, they're a verb. The same as like you Google stuff, you don't look stuff up in a search engine. You hoover. You don't vacuum clean, you know. You don't make an arse yourself in a big semi-final. You're hand and you're supposed to win. You Hibs it, you know. And the downside of that for us is part of Hibs being Hibs is they will lose 2-0 at home to Ross County. You know, the week after they've given us a great game apparently at Ibrox by only losing 1-0. But they will be ready for us. You know, they'll always be ready for us. And I like when we played Ross County on Saturday, for example, I was kind of strangely confident about that, because I knew that Ross County were getting the results they're supposed to get against other teams. Okay, they weren't expected to beat Aberdeen 4-1 at home, They maybe weren't expected to win at Hibs. But John Hughes is a guy who knows, the rest of the league is much of a muchness. So I think when it comes to playing Rangers, there's almost an honesty about that. When it comes to playing the Old Firm, he's kind of, I'm not saying they're not looking for anything, but he's not going to sit back and try and defend too hard. They did defend on Saturday, but he's going to try and play a bit of football as well and try and get something for the game, because he knows that their job is elsewhere. The problem you've got with the likes of Aberdeen and Hibs is they can't win the title, but finishing the bottom half of the league's not good enough for them. And they have a thing where they know they can constantly please their fans for their shortcomings elsewhere by putting on a great show against Rangers. Yeah. And Celtic, and in the Hibs case against Hearts, which they just don't do. But having made a complete arse themselves twice at Hampden this season, albeit the game against Hearts was technically from last season, it just, that actually gives me more fear than any of the any times Hibs have been in actual form this season. Because they're always bound to bounce back against Rangers, because they still look like a club who doesn't like it when the pressure's on them, and therefore playing us tomorrow will probably be what they're kind of looking for. My only hope is that the fallout from Saturday's been so bad, and Jack Ross kind of lost it with Kenny McIntyre as well in a very Neil Lennon sort of way, not liking him, his own contribution to that defeat being questioned. Quite happy to put it on his players. My only hope is that they've not had enough time to get over it, and they'll be looking to do their usual thing against Rangers where they've got nothing to lose, but they're still feeling the pressure from the fallout from Saturday, and maybe kind of psychologically that will confuse them. But at the end of the day, if we just go out and go for it, and as if it was a cup final, Colin, they should not be able to live with us.
Yeah, I mean, that's my fear. They do, as I said at the start of the show, they have become a sort of another Aberdeen, where it's almost as if their season's defined by the results against us. Just got some breaking news here, actually, some quite sad news. Dr. Joe Venglos, the former Celtic manager, has died tonight, aged 84, so that's just came out. So sad news. I mean, I know he was on the other side of the city and we don't like them, but, very sad news. So all our thoughts from us here at Gersnet on that one. Going back to tomorrow night's game, Alex, the injury front seems to be improving as well, and it's tying in with this whole, the final push domestically, and Europe's coming back, and in the next few weeks as well. We've got the Anderlecht game coming up in February, so it's good. Ryan Jack back in the team, back in the squad, came on Saturday there, got his goal. Ruth, I think Gerrard said today, he wasn't quite fit enough to get minutes on the park on Saturday, but he's been training since, so he's in contention for tomorrow. Arfield has, he's still a couple of weeks away, but might be available come the sort of Anderlecht games. And it's good that we're getting these players back now, because we have from a supporter's point of view, it's frustrating when you're having to wait 7 days between each game. But I think for the players and for the manager, it's been quite nice, because we've basically been Saturday, Wednesday, or Saturday, Thursday from day one this season. And it's probably going to kick in a wee bit again in February with the return of the European stuff. So it's good to increase their options. It's good that these players are coming back, and it's a nice time for them to be coming back.
Yeah, and I think it showed, as you say, when the rest that we're getting after the Celtic game. I mean, psychologically, winning the game against Celtic at Ibrox the 2nd of January was absolutely massive. Gave us breathing space, and you then go into 8 days off. And against Aberdeen, as we've been discussing, you guys have been discussing in the previous pods, we started moving, we started motoring again. We looked at that bit of sharpness back, and it kind of died off in the second half. I think, it takes a wee while. It's not just a case of you get 8 days off and that's it. You can recover from, the month we had before that was something incredible. 3 different competitions, and just every game is absolutely must win, I think it takes longer than 8 days to go over it, and I think maybe the performance against Motherwell, how we started against Motherwell, joined on to the way we'd ended the game at Pittodrie. 6 days in between that, but I think that was you seeing the team just taking that kind of breather, and I think on Saturday we saw them. They've had the breather. They're ready to go again. The free kick, the first goal that we scored. I mean, I don't know about yourself, but Tom, commentator on RangersTV, even Kevin Thompson, who knows a bit about midfield stuff, and myself watching, we thought it was a free kick to Ross County. You know, there was a wee, Steve Davis looked like he'd bumped the Ross County player, but it was actually, you know, free kick to ourselves. But while we're all, even Tom commentator saying on Rangers TV, you know, I think that's a kick to County. Hadji's got the ball spotted, he's moved it on, and we're about 3 yards ahead of Ross County, and we're thinking, and then we're desire, and that's how it ends up looking like. We've almost kind of, albeit it was finished off a couple of headers, it looks like we're kind of walking it into the net. That same thing we were doing right up until I think we beat Hamilton 8-0. Including that game, we looked like we're scoring goals that were actually making it look ridiculously easy. It was kind of unreal. I think the lack of crowd helped that as well, but we seemed to be walking the ball into the net. We're so far ahead of the opposition. It reminded me of like when you used to play five-a-sides, or I used to play five-a-sides, and one of these boys had played a bit of juniors or something like that, and walking through the game, but you couldn't get anywhere near them. You know, and that's, we were starting to do that again on Saturday. We're doing it at the beginning of the season. We're doing it again on Saturday. And I think we're now at that point where I think this is perfect. We don't have a game this coming Saturday. I think they're maybe at a stage now where they want to get back out. They want another wee midweek game. You know, they want to go and build on what they did, because even taking off the 5 bodies with basically half an hour to go on Saturday, the boys that replaced them, they couldn't get enough either. The same as that Hamilton game, but you know, I'm talking about. We won the first half 4-0, 5 substitutions, but in the second half 4-0. You know, it was a bit of that on Saturday, which they look kind of insatiable just now. They can't get enough, and I'm hoping that's they actually want a wee game on Wednesday. They're up for this. They've got their mojo back. Know that their lack of mojo was anything to be ashamed of. They were absolutely magnificent, just spreading the performances all the way through December. But no, I think we're ready for a wee midweek game again, and I'm hoping we just go out there and just continue straight away for where we left off against Ross County. Because if we don't let Hibs start, if we don't let them start enjoying themselves or start thinking they're kicking on again under Jack Ross, they're making a statement and they're coming back for their humiliation on Saturday. If we just let them think they're going to get humiliated again, the likes of Porteous, whether it be, I saw the last half hour of their game on Saturday, whether it be just chucking it all together by trying to break Barisic's legs as he did against us, you know, a year ago, to get himself deliberately sent off, or just actually chucking it. The heat goes down and he just doesn't care. If you get in their minds, I think there's a question about the Hibs psychology, and if we just get at them straight away and make them work for it, I think I'm not saying for a second they're going to chuck it, but we can really, I think we could end up doing to them pretty much the same as we did to Ross County.
Well, here's hoping. On Ryan Jack, do you think he starts tomorrow? I know that's not on the agenda, but just the way it's going, I just thought, you know, because Stephen Davis in particular, you know, given his age, you know, he's played a lot of football recently. So can you see, does he start tomorrow, or does he get a wee bit, you know, instead of 20 minutes, he comes on at half time or whatever and gets an extended sort of few minutes in the game?
There's been nothing else on my agenda since Saturday, Colin. That's all I've been thinking about, him and Aribo. I don't know where to place them. I don't know what I can't help thinking to myself, I would like, for some reason, I don't really know why, I want to go with the same midfield that we had against Benfica in the Stadium of Light. Just get Kamara, Davis and Jack on there. The fact that, and just kind of keep Hibs hemmed in. You know, they're probably going to go with the 5 in midfield, but I think that midfield, we're talking about Davis needing a bit more rest. We're talking about Ryan Jack needing, you know, I think it's Chris Jack, you know, of this parish. In the evening times, he was saying something about Jack. Gerard had said he was going to keep Jack kind of under wraps. You know, I think that's, what's he keeping him under wraps for? This could be the game. This could be the game tomorrow night that basically kind of seals us the league and lets us go into our European games knowing that's kind of in the bag. I think we should get 3 of them on. And I can't help remembering Joe Aribo at Easter Road, December last season.
Yeah.
Where he went down that right hand side. I know it was against Louis Stevenson, he'll not be playing there tomorrow night. But and Jack Ross had played a diamond against us that night, which was, you know, completely stupid. But we just tore them to pieces. And Aribo, having done what he did on Saturday, just put me in mind of him that night against Easter Road. That goal he scored on Saturday against Ross County, coming in for the right like that. I'm kind of thinking we should put him basically up front. Maybe even dropping Hadji, which would be unfair. But the fact that Aribo come off early, the fact that Steve Davis come off early, Kamara come off, it makes me think they're all playing. tomorrow. You know, and I would go with that kind of three across the middle. I doubt he will. He's been talking up Zungu and Jack, how well they played together.
Yeah.
In Saturday in the second half. So maybe he's planning to get Zungu on. But Ryan Jack, the way he came on Saturday, it was just seamless. It was like he'd never been away.
Nah.
You know. So I think he's ready. You know, and Steve Davis might be struggling, but if he's got Ryan Jack beside him and Glenn Kamara, I don't think, you know, Steve Davis doesn't look like he's struggling fitness-wise yet. He will be, you know, at his age. But this is just one more kick on. They've got Saturday off. You know, they don't play again to the following Wednesday. This is a big one. I think I'll get the three of them on. Yeah,
it feels like a Ryan Jack kind of game to me. You know what I mean? Given the sort of, there can be a wee sort of nasty element to it, and I think it would suit him. You know, he's I don't want to say he's an enforcer, but he's certainly someone that doesn't back away for that kind of stuff. So,
just one thing. Yeah. So that goal I'm talking about back in December of 2019, we scored at Easter Road. It was Ryan Jack was playing a 1-2. He was right in there with Aribo. He played the kind of lovely elongated 1-2. With Joe out on the right hand side, which he just put it on the bathroom, so Joe just walked onto it and called it right into the far corner. It was a cracking goal, but Jack was central to that as well, mate. Yeah. I think we'll see, but I just have a feeling he might start tomorrow. Alex, I think that's us. I don't see anything else on the agenda. There's nothing else. I don't have any other contractual obligations that I need to see out. So that's all from us for this bonus edition of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast, the Independent Rangers podcast that is brought to you by fans for fans, and where the content is free. A big thanks to Alex for his contribution tonight. We'll have a show on Sunday. I know there's no game this weekend, but we'll all have a show on Sunday night as per usual. I believe Ross is hosting. I always get this wrong. I am terrible for this. I always get whoever's on the next show wrong. But I'm going to go with, I believe Ross is hosting, David Wren's guesting, and so is Chris Jack. I'll find out when we go off air, when Frankie gives me a row for getting it wrong again. In the meantime, get yourself onto the Gersnet website and forums at www.gersnet.co.uk. There's a really good piece on there about Steven Gerrard at the moment, and it's part of a whole series, so get yourself on and have a wee look at that. In the meantime, as I say to you all the time at the moment, guys, look after yourselves, stay safe, and until next time, bye for now.